Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Turn the Tassel, Sunday Night Live at 5. I'm Stephen Ampersand. I'm your host, and as always, we do this live at 5 p.m. on Sunday evenings, where we try to bring in guests to speak to you about all things higher education, in particular, how to deal with the rising costs. And I'm super excited today to be able to bring on our guest, who I'll introduce here in just a moment. But you may recall back a couple of weeks ago, I did a series on the student debt crisis, and we highlighted a story by Consumer Reports. And in particular, the story was of a young woman by the name of Jessie Suren, and just the struggles that she had going into college. LaSalle University in Philadelphia, ended up having a lot of student loan debt and really just at a loss for what to do and how to overcome it. And so I'm going to play a little bit of the episode for some context before I bring Jessie on, so we can really talk about what's been happening since that time. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and cut to camera number 2. All right. So today for part 2, we're going to look at an article from Consumer Reports, or really a documentary from Consumer Reports, America's Student Debt Crisis, Jessie's story. And Jessie's story is unfortunately all too common today. And the goal of this is to help you to personalize how these poor decisions can be made and ultimately recognize that you don't want to end up like Jessie. You don't want to be a Jessie, right? Think of Jessie as Scrooge or Bob Cratchit in A Christmas Carol, right? This idea that she's coming back as a ghost in chains saying, don't do this. Don't be like this. Don't be like. Excellent. So please, everybody, welcome our guest, the cool rich aunt, Jessie, to the show. All right. Thanks for joining us, Jessie. We're so glad you're here. And you heard yeah, it's so good to have you. Well, first of all, I just have to say, when I got a chance to speak with you after doing the show, I said on the show I was going to try to reach out to you to do like kind of a where are they now? And I have to say, I've never been so happy to eat humble pie after talking to you and hearing about your story. So if you wouldn't mind, just give us an update. What's been happening in your life since you did that series back in 2016 and set the record straight?
Okay, so I'm going to set the record straight first because I had a list of all the things that I was like, wait.
Let's do it. Get in there.
The first one, I'm like, how many years passed since 2016 for you? Because I'm not in my 40s, Steven.
Oh, let's get that right.
You got to your 40s that I'm 34.
All right, 34. She said, don't you add 6 years to my life.
I'm closer to 30 than I am 40, okay?
I know that's right. Set it straight, girl. You go ahead.
And of course, I'm not in six-figure debt. I'm actually totally debt-free.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. You got to tell us how that happened.
Yes, I paid off all of my student loans, my car and credit card debt in 2018. So it was 2 years after that report aired. Yeah. And basically how that happened was I have a little YouTube channel of my own, and I put a little update video because there was a lot of comments. If you see the original YouTube video of that Consumer Reports, the comments are brutal.
Yes. Hopefully worse than mine. Hopefully mine weren't worse.
Yeah. That comment section is way worse. So, kind of like had me thinking a little bit like, dang, but I try not to really let like haters get to me. But I made a little update video, and one of my followers sent me the Dave Ramsey book. And that book, it just changed my life. I read it. I just felt so strongly about getting out of debt. And I just kind of I just became determined. I read the book. I wrote out a plan.
Love it. I love it.
to the plan. And then there were some things that kind of helped along the way, but I mean, essentially that was it in a nutshell.
So,
Um,
I'm sorry. So, for those who are not necessarily initiated to Dave Ramsey, Ramsey Solutions, and what they do, what prescription, I guess, did they give you in that book that helped you to pay off the debt?
Honestly, the book is just basic finances 101, and I feel like I just didn't learn that. And you see that in the video of the Consumer Reports. The first thing I say is like, I just never thought about the finances. I didn't really know about how to spend money, and 13,000 a year versus 30,000 a year sounded all the same to me. So I just really had no concept of really like money, and it's so basic in the book how it's laid out, and it was just like, wow, like this is simple stuff. It's just hard to do it. It's just like I always compare it to like losing weight. Everyone knows what
Mm.
you need to do to lose weight. It's just hard to actually do it and be consistent. But what you need to do is not hard.
No, that's a good point. I mean, again, I'm getting a little feedback. Your mic might be a little hot, so maybe you turn your mic down a little bit. I think my
Okay.
voice is coming in over there on you. But
Mhm.
while you're doing that, I'll just say that um, I was introduced to Ramsey back in 2013, and similarly, now I'm still paying debt and that kind of stuff because more things have piled on. But um, you know, the whole idea of taking baby steps, I think no matter how people view stuff, if you're like me and you grew up and, everybody was just trying to survive, we're putting $5 in the gas tank and kind of living hand to mouth. You don't really learn how to handle money. In fact, I could say with absolute confidence that I was afraid of money, even as
Mhm.
an adult, because I didn't know how to use it. And, um, you know, it was always scarce, right? So
Mhm.
when I got his book, Financial Peace, Dave Ramsey, and read through that and just talked about, the baby steps and how you can prioritize how you attack the debt so that you're not, you get little wins along the way. So you start with the snowball and you get the smallest debt top and the biggest one at the bottom, and you just throw everything you can, minimum payments at everything else, but then throw everything you can at the small one until you knock that out, and that gives you the momentum, gives you the
Mhm.
encouragement to keep going. And I have to say, like, statistically speaking, especially when you start adding interest rates and stuff, like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in those terms. But the
Mhm.
emotional impact that it has when you see debts falling off of the list, for me, that was everything.
Yeah, momentum is huge, and you need that to keep going. And for me, it worked as well. I think my smallest credit card at the time was like 500. So, I was able to get that one, paid off pretty quickly. And then it was like, okay, I can see it one day it'll be this $30,000 loan. Right now, it's just this little $500 balance, but we work our
Yeah,
way up.
that's awesome. So let me ask you as well. So you started your YouTube channel, and um, you, if I remember what you shared from when you were with me in the green room before the show, you weren't actually trying to start a YouTube thing. You just had a video that you tossed up there and didn't know how to delete, and then all of a sudden it kind of went viral. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I had no idea what I was doing, and I had made this video to enter a contest in order to win a month of student loan payments.
Nice.
And I didn't know how to delete it. And after a while, I think it was maybe even a year or two later, a reporter had contacted me from California, and I didn't even know if this was legit or not. And I had looked up the the place he was representing, and it was real. So I'm like, okay. And the more I kind of explained my story to this man, the more he was intrigued. And there was just different like little pieces that he's like, there's like a much bigger story here. So somehow that reporter ended up being, going to Consumer Reports, and then they wanted to make this whole documentary piece. And after the documentary came out, I felt like I wanted to give the update. And then after getting all this comments and feedback and starting that journey, I was like, I feel like I need to keep sharing. So I just kind of just kept on making the videos. And then I saw it was helping people, and that became really my biggest motivation, was to continue to help people. And that's why I wanted to share my story, so that one, maybe there can be a change in the future for this younger generation, and two, so people that are in my shoes feel some hope and inspiration. And people who haven't really got there yet just don't do what I did.
Awesome. Awesome. So impactful. And what I appreciate about what you shared is, everything you said. I mean, if you had it to do over again, you would have done it differently. And hindsight is 2020 for all of us, right? We can look back and say, man, if I only knew this, I would have done that. But
Of
what I
course.
super appreciate is that you're trying to help people to have hope that it doesn't have to be a death sentence or a life sentence for you if you got into even six-figure student loan debt because you didn't know what you didn't know. You can
Hmm.
actually get out from it. And there's a difference between giving hope and giving false hope.
Hmm.
And I would say that what inspired me most about what you've accomplished, Jesse, is that you didn't just sulk and throw your hands up and say, well, this is just what it's going to be. You actually rolled your sleeves up. You got a plan together and an action, and then you went ahead and knocked out that debt. I mean, I'm just so proud of you for that. And I hope you're proud of you because it speaks to your character to be able to do something like that. And I guess the question I would ask on the tail end of that is, how long did it take you to pay it off? And what did you do? I guess like to sort of celebrate that achievement.
Mhm. So I mean, technically, the real answer is it took 8 years because I graduated in 2010, and in 2018 is at the very end of 2018 is when I was debt free with the student loans. So technically, it
Awesome.
was 8 years, but I had been making payments for 6 of those years, and my balance stayed basically the same. So it was, I'd say, the 25 months after that story aired. That was those 25 months is when I became serious. I got my plan together. And within that time period, I went from 90,000 to zero. Now, I will say with a little asterisk there, though, 45,000 of that was discharged through a medical discharge. That was the Parent Plus loans. And then the
Okay.
other 45,000 is what I had paid off in the 25 months. So had I not got the discharge, I can definitely say it would probably have taken 4 years. So I don't want to make it seem like, like a superpower. I don't think that's, most
No,
people probably not
well,
going to pay
no,
90,000
it's a
in 2 years.
superpower. It's
But
absolutely a superpower.
but
I
it
mean,
was
4 years even given that situation, and Parent Plus loans we talk about on this program all the time. I think the Parent Plus loan is the worst financial product on the planet. I mean, when
yeah.
you think about it, you're asking folks that are nearing, if not already at retirement age, to take out what can amount to upwards of six figures of student loan debt for a child to cover the gap of what's left after that child has maxed out their loan eligibility. It's an
Hmm.
absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Um, and so, man, I'm so grateful. We need to get onto your channel and do, guys, if you haven't already, go like and subscribe to her channel. She's got a whole library of awesome videos in there about how to get loan forgiveness, student loan forgiveness, how to pay off the debt. It's really inspirational, and I would encourage folks to go over there and like and subscribe to the channel. But um, I can only imagine, for your mom and your aunt, because I believe from the Consumer Report they both
Right.
took out loans on your behalf. It must be such a relief even for them to now be in or at retirement age and not have that looming gorilla on their backs.
Absolutely. That was one of the other corrections I was making from the first video. You had said something like basically they were all paying for it now, but my aunt and my mom never actually made payments towards well, they never had to make payments towards my loan. I should
Awesome.
say it that way. I never like dropped the ball. I was the one that always had taken care of the payments. It wasn't like, I just paid. They trusted me, but
Again,
it
it
was
speaks to your
on their.
integrity.
Thank you. But it was, of course, in their, financial history as a debt.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure it affected things. But it's also a relief for me too, because that was
Yeah.
even the bigger looming thing. Like, I don't mind. I mean, I did care about my credit, but I could ruin my own credit, ruin my own life, but I never wanted to take down my mom or my aunt with me, and that was the biggest pressure and motivator too, because I just would never want to do that to them.
Well, and they do that, and they did that because they love you and they wanted to help you, and so their intentions were right and were pure. And I think even Dave Ramsey, I remember him saying that Thanksgiving turkey just tastes different when you owe your family members, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
Oh my gosh, I would never.
I can only imagine how much better everything tastes around the holidays with that
Hmm.
taken care of. So that's super inspiring. We'll kind of wrap it with this, and then I want you to share anything else that you think would be important. But if I don't ask you anything else, I really want to ask you, what would be your best advice to families and students entering college today? And how could you help the people maybe who are already out and dealing with six-figure student loan debt?
Okay, so I took notes on this one. So, for my best advice, definitely for people going into college, parents, you need to talk to your kids, and kids, you need to talk to your parents. You need to communicate about it. And then the number one thing you can do is educate yourself, self education. You don't learn this stuff. I mean, I don't know how it is these days, but back when I was going to high school, it was before YouTube and before information was just so
They did not
readily
teach it.
available. So I truly had no idea. I was just kind of like following, what you're supposed to do. But I think people know better now. So
Yeah.
you need to educate yourself. There's more than enough information out there. And then you need to explore all your options. This day and age, the 4-year college degree is not, the be all end all. Like, it's not necessarily a ticket to success. So there's so many different things out there. You can get tech certificates. You might want to take some time and travel. During that time of life, you have so many different prior or responsibilities. So that's a great time to travel and try and learn yourself better. So you don't blow money on a degree that you're not really interested in, like I did.
It's huge.
Um, you can do trade school. You can do community college, take a gap year and just live life a little bit and find out, how it really is in the real world. So definitely explore those options. And if you decide that college is what you want to do, figure out the way to pay for it, which is not student loans. Do your first 2 years in community college. There's a lot of talk
Yes.
about free, and there's scholarships for that. Then when you want to transfer to that 4-year college, maybe become an RA, get scholarships, do work study, do whatever you have to do so that you're taking out zero to little student loans. And if you do take out student loans, only take out federal and stick to the thing I heard was the first year salary that you would expect in that position, which I would argue and say I
Mm,
wouldn't even take out more than 20,000. That's plenty of debt, and
yeah.
um, I would try to take out that or less and get those degrees without all that debt. Um,
Right on.
for people already dealing with the student loans, my advice is to not ignore them. That has been one of the biggest things. I started doing kind of help calls and consultations with people who had student loans, and they're like, "What do I do? How do I do this? How do I get forgiveness?" And I always tell people, it's kind of like funny, but I'm like, student loans are like financial herpes. Okay, they're not gonna go away.
They're
It's
not
just
going
there.
away.
If you ignore it, it's gonna get really ugly.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
like,
that's powerful imagery.
I mean,
I
yeah, it's gross,
appreciate
but it's
that.
just like, I mean, I don't know a
No, I
better way to
appreciate
say
that.
it. I feel like so
No,
you
it's
just need to
perfect.
take care of it because
Yeah. Get it
it gets
addressed.
worse, and there are ways to handle your student loans. Like if you can't afford it, they have income-based repayment. They have forbearances and deferments. Not necessarily that that's the best option, but it's definitely better than just ignoring it because then you go into default and they're garnishing your wages. And with federal student loans, there's so many different avenues that you can utilize to make sure
Right.
that that doesn't happen. Don't make it a worse situation for yourself. And then after don't ignore it. You have to learn and educate yourself about the student loans and all of your options. Then you need to get a plan on how to pay it off and educate yourself on finances in general because again the only way to really truly get rid of them is to pay them. There's some forgiveness avenues out there but they're really not very universal. It's for very specific um, situations and people. So definitely you want to see if you qualify but most likely you won't, so you want to just pay them off and do it quickly and work your ass off to do it. I don't know if I can say that on here, but
Yes, by all means. No, I mean, listen, that's exactly what it takes. I mean, so few people are willing to cut their lifestyles and to do the really difficult things. And so when I talk with families and students in particular, um, you know, there's this mentality that says, well, you have to take out student loans because it's impossible for folks that don't have the money. And see, anytime you're speaking in absolutes, you're on a slippery slope. You don't have to do anything. There's lots of pathways, and I talk about it often here on the channel, but also when I'm counseling folks, that there are a variety of ways, that you can address this thing and get it done without becoming an indentured servant for the rest of your adult life.
Mhm.
And thanks to you and people like you, we can also see that even if that happens, there's a light at the end of the tunnel that isn't an oncoming train, right?
Mhm.
You're not going to get crushed by it if you're diligent, if you apply yourself, if you're willing to cut your lifestyle, work hard, and get out from under the debt so that you can actually build on a good foundation. So just super, super encouraged to hear your story, and just very excited to see you doing so well. And I understand that you're married now and you have a little
Mhm.
baby girl. How's your
Yeah.
daughter?
Yeah, she just turned 1, and
Awesome.
I'm just so grateful because I'm now able to experience all the things that during that time of that documentary I didn't think was going to be possible for myself. I thought there's no way I could responsibly bring a child into this world with all this debt. How can I pay that? And who's going to want to marry me with $100,000 debt or $90,000 debt? So, and then buying a home and all that stuff. So getting that out of the way now has opened up a new pathway, and I feel so much more confident making financial decisions now. I just feel like, okay, now I can go buy a home, or I just know how to kind of go about things a lot better.
You're a winner. You're a winner now. You've been on both sides of it. You've seen the worst and you've beaten it. And so I can only imagine what that does for your confidence. And, hats off. I would do it if I could do it without taking off the earbuds. But no, just hats off to you. Really want to commend you. And, we will continue to touch base and check in from time to time because, I think this audience in particular needs to hear that and see that so that when they start to feel bogged down or challenged, what have you, they can remember that, hey, I do want to be like Jessie. Jessie,
Mhm.
not only did she come back with the chains and say, don't do that, but she actually came back again with the chains off. Hey, I got free, and here's how. That's a
Mhm.
great story. It's a great way to end the story. So,
Thank
what
you.
else would you leave us with before we wrap?
Um, the main one I think is definitely know your options before you get into college. For anybody listening that is just kind of in that stage where they're wondering, how do I prevent this? There's just so many avenues to success now, and you definitely don't want to go spend that type of money on a liberal arts degree. But also for the people who are already in the situation, there is hope. You can get yourself out of a hard situation. Absolutely. And it's hard though. It does not come easy, and nothing good ever does. You have to really get serious, wrap your mind around it. I'm huge on visualization and manifestation. I was reading a lot of self-help books during the time, and I just really had decided for myself, like, this is not going to be my story. Like, I am
Awesome.
not going to have all this debt. And I even mentioned in that documentary, I remember I had the vision board, and I was like, they're going to be zero. I don't know exactly how right now, but they're going to be zero. And it's not going to be 20 years from now. It's going to be a few years from now. And when I finally
Awesome.
made the plan of how, that's when things kind of fell into place.
Well, again, I can't just congratulate you enough. It's just fantastic what you've accomplished. And please, for those watching, do go over to her channel, The Cool Rich Aunt, and like and subscribe. Go on over there and look at the content. It is so helpful.
Yes, check me
And
out.
absolutely, and it'll help her out. And not only that, but, you know, the proof is in the pudding. Like, she did it. So you can go and rely on the information there because she actually paid off the debt. So it shows that she knows how to do it. So
Mhm.
please go over there and do that. Jessie, thanks so much for taking some time with us here on T3CG live at 5 on Sunday nights, and we're glad to have you. We will definitely keep in touch and come back and see how you're doing maybe in a couple years.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jessie.
Thank you.
Very cool. I mean, what a great story. What a great just odyssey of perseverance and triumph. And so, I'd be remiss if I didn't at this point say, if you haven't already, reached out to us here at Turn the Tassel Consulting Group to get your free consultation, what are you waiting for? Send us an email, turningtassel@gmail.com. Text us at 484-574-1866. Either place, I need a plan. We will set with you 20 minutes, free consultation, help you determine what the best situation would be for you or the people you love, and help you decide if moving forward with us is something that you should do. Either way, it's not going to hurt you to have a free consultation. But you can see that not knowing what you don't know can really cost you big problems with lots of zeros on the other end of it if you don't get the help. So do so. We're happy to do it because we want to see you or the people you love get to and through college, university, or the trade schools earlier on time with minimum to no debt. And this is Turn the Tassel.